Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mini Scroll, the daily internet culture podcast bringing you the biggest stories from social media, the creator economy, and the digital space every Monday through Thursday. I'm your host, Lauren Meisner, the founder of the youth digital media brand Centennial World. Welcome back to Mini Scroll, everyone. I hope you guys had a good weekend. I had a pretty good weekend. I had a little Canada Day party. Like, I didn't have it, but I went to one, and it was a double denim theme. But anyways, so I had a really good weekend. I got some downtime, which was nice, and now I am back. Oh, and I let you guys know this on Infinite Scroll, but I got a teleprompter, which is so exciting. And I thought I was only going to use it for Infinite Scroll, but I just uploaded my Mini Scroll notes to the teleprompter, so we'll see. This will be my first test. I kind of like having the notes like down here for Mini Scroll, but we'll see. I don't know. Anyways, I think it'll be good. All right, let's just get straight into the stories because I have some big stories. The first one is that Alissa Violet has called out Tana Mongeau in defense of Jason Nash. So influencer Alissa Violet has had enough of Tana Mongeau's jabs at Jason Nash. Over the weekend, Alissa made several videos calling out Tana for constantly making fun of Jason doing live streams for money. As we know, Jason has copped a lot of criticism in recent months for begging for money on TikTok. He goes on TikTok live essentially and basically begs for different gifts and things that you can gift people on TikTok. I don't quite understand. I have really never explored the TikTok live element of things, but I guess you can ask for virtual gifts and things, and that converts to money. Anyways, Tana, who, as we know, is friends with Jason's ex, Trisha Paytas, has been part of that criticism, making videos here and there, joking about, no matter how bad things get in our lives, we should all be thankful that we are not Jason Nash. Tana made another one of these videos this weekend, and then Alissa stitched it, calling out Tana for making fun of Jason. She called him a middle-aged man who has children to pay for and is just trying to make a buck, and it's just low hanging fruit for Tana to go after him.
At least I'm not Jason Nash.
Okay, I've had enough. I was gonna say something a couple of times ago when Tana started stuff with Tessa, and then she always talks about Jason Nash, and then she talked about this other girl, and I posted on my Snapchat about it because TikTok wouldn't let me post a video for some reason. But regardless, Tana, I know your job, and I know that you're supposed to be talking about drama all the time, and that's literally your job on your podcast. But for coming to come for somebody that's literally just trying to make a simple living on just going live on TikTok, trying to make ends meet. He's a middle-aged man, he has kids, he has to make money for his kids' school, all this stuff. Not everybody can post a butthole picture on OnlyFans. And make $1 million, okay? That's unheard of, and that's great that you do that. That's awesome. Cool. I'm not shaming you for that. That's great. It's just not everyone can do that. So what we're not going to do, what's not cool in 2024, is shaming people for going live for making a couple of extra dollars.
Alissa got a lot of heat for this video, mostly for coming to Jason Nash's defense. A lot of people feel like he's not a great guy because he was so heavily associated with David Dobrik, didn't really, I guess move away from him after the scandal in the Vlog Squad. And just a lot has come out about the Vlog Squad and about his relationship with Trisha and things like that since all of that exploded in 2021. I believe it was, when that big expose happened. So anyways, people are kind of Jason is not the hill to be dying on for this. And then of course she also got heat for kind of making fun of Tana for doing OnlyFans, or shaming her for doing OnlyFans. So Alissa made a follow-up video doubling down on her point, and then she ended up deleting all of her TikTok content about it. So she removed those videos, like I said, and then she posted 2 slides, text photos, I guess, with text to TikTok. The first one said, "I'm removing myself from all this. Go on my Snapchat to see my original point, or don't. I don't care. This is something I most definitely will not put my time and energy into anymore. I took down all the videos. Internet, you can happily have this one." And then the next slide said, "To be clear, I don't support abuse, bullying, pedophilia, shaming of any kind. I also don't support cyberbullying of any kind, and that was my original point." So that's that. I mean, I think, yeah, the Jason Nash hill is maybe not the hill to die on. I just think right now we're in this really interesting time with Tana where she's had such a renaissance, and it's actually similar to Trisha's. Like, she's such a fan favorite now because she's really just like owned her shit. She has seemed to change a lot, and I think Brooke, her like making up with Brooke and doing Canceled with Brooke has helped this renaissance and like helped this rebrand for her. I know a lot of people do say things like Canceled is just like mean girls that talk shit and stuff like that, but I mean, maybe, but I don't know. You guys know how I feel about like tea and gossip and talking shit. Like, I could do it all day long. I love it. I think it was just like the hypocrisy for people like Alissa coming for her for saying, you know, she does OnlyFans for money and like she talks on her podcast about other people, gossips about other people for money. Well, that's kind of like what Tana's making fun of Jason for. Like, she's saying like you should just like let him get his bag and like leave him alone, and then you're coming for Tana on how she's getting her bag. That was kind of the whole point. So that all blew up in the span of like 12 hours, and at the time that I'm recording this, which actually is Sunday, not Monday, so possibly I will miss something, but Tana has not responded to Alissa as far as I've seen. All right, the next story that I have for you guys is that Jaclyn Hill has talked about what it feels like to be canceled on the Full Coverage podcast. Okay, I made a TikTok about this podcast episode on my personal TikTok account because I am obsessed with it. I listened to it. I listened to it on Saturday when I was like going to the gym and then getting ready. It's like a 2-hour podcast. Oh my God, it is so good. It reminded me why these people are famous. It was so entertaining. They literally just did not stop talking for the full 2 hours. There was no lull. There was not a second that I was bored. It was so good. I was like, yeah, this is why these people are famous. They have such larger than life personalities, and having them all together like this, like these OGs together, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this now. But they talked about a lot of really meaningful and big topics, I felt. You guys can actually go watch my TikTok if you want, because I'm not going to dive into like everything here. I talked a little bit more about it there, but like they talked about having children, and the way that they spoke about it was so chill that it just like made me feel so calm and like seen about the whole topic. It was very, very good. But the point that I wanted to make here was they talked about obviously being canceled. And I thought that this was really interesting because obviously all three of them, Jaclyn, Manny MUA, Laura Lee, have all been canceled at different times for different things. Typically when we hear creators talk about cancel culture or being canceled, and what that feels like, it's either in the moment when they're still fresh with it and it's like very emotional and stressful and it's like damage control, or it's, you know, them being like angry and like putting that back on us for canceling them and being like unrealistic or whatever. And this conversation, there was like a little bit of that. I would say there was like a tiny little bit of like, you know, resentment there. But like, I also think that's normal. I think we can't really fault creators who get canceled for being resentful of that cancellation. I understand that's like not the point of a cancellation. It's kind of like you need to take accountability. And like, if you take accountability properly, then like in theory, you wouldn't feel resentful of that situation, but like it's just human nature, you know? So there was a little bit of that. There was like a little streak of resentment in that, in their conversation. But I would say for the most part, it was very objective, and they talked about some really interesting things about being canceled. So the best points that I took away from that was they talked about how being canceled makes you question your own self-perception. Like, it makes you really feel like, oh, I am that person that everyone is saying that I am. And it makes you question like your own values, who you actually are. And I think that's kind of the point of what usually audiences say they want from a cancellation. So I think if that is like what you want from creators when they have a cancellation, is to like to have some self-reflection, apparently it's working. Okay. So that was the first thing. The second thing that they said was that like you can't actually learn anything in the moment while you're being canceled. And they didn't say this part of it, but I interpreted that as them saying like the demands from fans to take accountability and to do accountability, whatever that means, in the exact correct way in the moment. Like, that's not actually impactful because what they're doing in the moment is trying to survive. Like, they're in constant fight or flight. Say what you want about creators getting canceled, celebrities getting canceled. I understand it's a very like sensitive topic for audiences and for influencers and public figures in general. I would say at the end of the day, somebody getting canceled, it's like the biggest pylon in the world, especially if you think about like Jaclyn's hairy lipsticks. Mandy got canceled for like being a bad friend. I don't even know if that is anywhere close to a cancelable quote unquote offense. Obviously, Laura got canceled for some much bigger and more horrific things. But, you know, I think the pylon of like everybody coming at you, the whole internet, especially now it's so inflamed now. When they all started getting canceled, you know, this was like a little bit right before cancel culture really like took off. It would be the most horrific experience I can only imagine. So I don't think it's an exaggeration to say you are like trying to survive minute to minute, like you are in constant fight or flight. So, you know, you actually can't take proper accountability and you can't do the things that like your audience is demanding of you in that exact moment because the pylon is too much. Like anybody would just shut down. Like your mental state would be so bad. There would be no way for you to actually properly look at the situation from like any type of like helpful or like objective lens. So, you know, they did say like the learning comes like after that. And then Jaclyn said through therapy, she's really found who she is and what grounds her, which has helped her navigate the internet hate, which kind of ties back into their first point, which is, you know, when something bad like this happens, like when a scandal happens, you really self-reflect on like, oh my God, am I this person? I didn't think I was this person. Everybody in the world is saying that I'm this person. Am I this person? So I thought that was interesting where she said, you know, you really have to have like a strong sense of self. And actually we talked about that recently. Who were we talking about that with? Not with, about, I don't know. We were talking about a celebrity having a strong sense of self. But I think that's probably the biggest way that a creator or a celebrity can like handle a cancellation is if you have a strong sense of self and thick skin. And that comes with having a strong sense of self, right? It's like if you know who you are, then you know that like what people are saying about you is actually not true. And Jaclyn said that. She's like, I'm not going to get canceled for something that's like super fucked up because I'm not like a fucked up person. You know, like what I'm getting canceled for, what most creators get canceled for is for mistakes, which everybody makes, and those mistakes are amplified. Take that how you will. I know some of the cancellations, quote unquote, that we have seen over the years have felt like much bigger than mistakes. That's for sure. But I do agree that a lot of them could be chalked up to just mistakes. Okay, and the last story that I have for you guys, I need to break down the Olivia Culpo wedding dress saga for you. It's been on and off my TikTok timeline for like 2 weeks now. I have questioned, or a week, sorry. I think she only got married last weekend, but I don't know if I want to talk about like my opinion on like someone's wedding in this way, just because I feel like they're already very hurt and sensitive to the discourse around their wedding and Olivia's look. So I don't want to like contribute to that. Speaking of cancel culture, but I'm going to give you the full rundown of what's happening because it is just not stopping. And that's kind of where I'll leave it. So Olivia Culpo, she got married to a football player like last week, and her wedding dress is literally the talk of TikTok. So she was dressed by Dolce & Gabbana, and her first dress, the one that has lots of discourse about it, essentially covered her from head to toe. It was like long sleeves, high neckline, all the way up, and it was just complete simple white fabric. She had a Vogue like wedding, so she did an interview and she said, quote, I didn't want it to exude sex in any way, shape, or form. I wanted it to feel effortless and as if it's complimenting me, not overpowering me. There's so much beauty and simplicity. So bridal creator Kennedy Bingham, who goes by Gown-Eyed Girl on TikTok, did a review of Olivia's look. She has a long video, I'll link it down below, but she basically said the dress has no personality. It felt opposite to what Olivia dresses like in real life, which was a lot of the criticism. It was just like unexpected for Olivia Culpo to wear a dress like that. And she said that like the Vogue interview that Olivia did in which she spoke about the dress felt like a conservative campaign because Olivia talked about how she wanted to be covered. She wanted to wear something that showed how seriously she takes her vows and that Christian, her husband, prefers her covered. And Kennedy was basically like, that is such a weird thing to constantly talk about. And especially with the taking your vows really seriously, she was like, it doesn't matter what a bride wears on her wedding day. That has no, correlation to like how seriously she takes her vows. So Kennedy said, quote, it's very clear that this was not a wedding. This was a conservative campaign, and it wasn't even well done. You took this disingenuous pick-me route that honestly felt more like you were thinking about your narrative than your actual marriage. Whew, okay. And, Kennedy has had a lot of support for that statement. It was a very bold and brave thing to say on the internet. I mean, I don't know if brave is the right word, but it was like a bold thing to say about someone else's wedding. But I think when you consider the political climate that the US is in, I think it's important to be like hyper aware of the propaganda or like what could be propaganda that you're consuming, like the content that you're consuming in general. So while I don't think that Olivia Culpo is necessarily intentionally trying to push a trad wife agenda, that is very much what a lot of people feel like this Vogue interview was. And I also think you need to consider who styled them. Dolce & Gabbana, like, they are highly problematic. They have anti-gay beliefs. They are not a designer that I would want to be associated with. I think a lot of people would want to be associated with, especially their marriage. So it just makes you think. It's like, okay, if you're willing to if you're willing to collaborate with a designer like this, what does that mean about who you are and what you're trying to tell the world? Okay, so Olivia and Christian saw this. People are like making a joke that they saw this on their honeymoon. I don't know, but they saw this video and they commented. So Olivia wrote, "Wow, what an absolutely evil person you are. I hope no one ever tears you apart in this way because it's extremely hurtful. I love this dress and it was everything I wanted and more." And then Christian wrote, "What an evil thing to post online. I hope you find joy and peace in the world the way my beautiful wife does." This was obviously a huge moment for Olivia, a huge PR moment. And I understand it's a hard line to toe because it is a PR moment for her. So, we as like the audience, she's wanting us to consume that Vogue article. She's wanting us to consume her Instagram content. If that's what you want from us, then we should be allowed to critique it. But then I also understand it's like, well, you're also monetizing and publicizing a very important, intimate moment. And I do agree, like, it's a sacred moment for a lot of people, and brides, they feel usually, or they want to feel their most beautiful on their wedding day. So for somebody to like be talking shit about what a bride looks like, that just does feel really hurtful. So I see both sides of it, but I think that's what Kennedy was trying to say is like, this was so much of a PR moment. And that is what a lot of the opinion has been. But this has also caused a lot of discourse about celebrities responding to audiences. Like, yes, Kennedy is a big bridal creator, but she's also a regular person. She's a TikToker. She has no bearing on their life. So another creator, Cora Brillian, made the point that when celebrities respond, this really like fucks up their SEO. Because now when you Google Olivia Culpo wedding dress, it's just news articles about Olivia and Christian calling out this TikToker as opposed to anything about her actual wedding dress. And then I did see Shannon from Fluently Forward say it was kind of ironic that Olivia was like, "I hope no one ever tears you apart in this way because it's extremely hurtful," when she literally just called Kennedy an evil person. Like, she's kind of doing that same thing. So yeah, I don't know. There is a lot of discourse. This just, to me, goes back to distrust and like disdain for influencers and celebrities and like the 1%, the elite. It just keeps snowballing. This is nothing new. We've seen this type of discourse come out of things over the last few years. It's been coming to the surface the last few years more than ever post like lockdowns, I guess. So to me, this is just like another example of that. It's like, if you want us to consume, and by consuming essentially helping pay your bills, like, we should also then be allowed to critique it. Media and art and fashion, all of that is meant for critiquing. But I'm interested to hear how you guys feel about that. Please let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for listening to Mini Scroll. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye.